Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is the 20th meeting of the 145th Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. Welcome to everybody tonight. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. In recognition of National Indigenous History Month, I will read the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we meet is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, Attawandaronk, Neutral, and Mississauga peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also recognize that this land is now home to the Munsee Delaware Nation, Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, and Oneida Nation of the Thames. This land was settled through Treaty 2, the McKee Purchase Treaty of 1790, and we, as beneficiaries of the treaty, recognize our collective responsibilities to the land and water.
Thank you. Conflicts of interest. Any motions of interest from any of the members? Seeing none, we'll move on to minutes.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on June the 9th, 2025 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No deputations this evening. Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole and deal with the following business. First committee is strategic direction and development. First item relates to the community improvement program for the property at 22 to 24 John Street, the St. Thomas Food Bank. I have a motion that report PD 3025 relating to a community improvement program grant for 22 to 24 John Street be received for information, and further that council approve the planning and building fees grant for 22 to 24 John Street under the community improvement program. Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Honor, Your Worship. I appreciate that. The food bank, it does a lot of good for our community. A couple of meetings ago, we turned down a request for a grant, and simply because it fell outside of the rules and protocols. And I'm just worried that does this fall outside the rules and protocols of the CIP program? And if we do, does it open the doors for other such requests? Just my question.
Okay. City manager, do you want to take that? Or I mean, I know a little bit, but maybe Lou. Okay.
Yeah, through Your Worship. No, that is the crux of the issue here. We did receive an application for a program that does exist in the CIP to cover building and planning and development fees, but it's not tied to another specific program of the CIP. So that's why the committee struggled in terms of finding an avenue to approve it. Although they supported it and there's value in it, I think the direction was to come to council and council can overrule that and make a decision on it. Now, there is a concern that, whether this could or could not create a precedent going forward. But there's many ways that you can look at it. What could prevent that is just looking at, who's making what's the organization that's making the request. It's a nonprofit organization. It's an organization that services the needs in the community, the whole of the community. So it'd be very rigid, very specific. I don't see where others can come in and try to say that, well, the precedent has been set by council making this exception. So I'll just leave that up to council to make that decision and to give that direction to approve the grant. It is, as council knows, the food bank had to make a recent planning application for rezoning and an official plan amendment. And those are the fees that they're looking to recoup because they are a nonprofit and they rely on donations and goodwill in the community for the services that they provide.
Okay, thank you, Lou. Councillor Kohler, then Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. That's my concern too, that we set a precedent with that, but I certainly support the ask. And I, was looking at this and I think that this actually fits into the community grant program because it could be a one-time ask for capital improvement. It's not going towards their operating cost or anything like that. So personally myself, I'd like to see us support this, but the $5,000 come out of the community grant program instead, so we aren't setting precedent and changing things with the CIP. But I would like to see us support it, but just through the community grant program instead of the CIP.
Councillor Clark?
That was exactly my recommendation, that we adhere to the policy here, but do it through special grants.
But the largest grant is 3,500 if I'm not mistaken. So you're wanting to change it? Okay. Councillor Peters?
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I would be certainly supportive of that. I think what's ironic is that the food bank is the landlord of the building. But who this work is ultimately going to benefit is the Royal Canadian Legion, because the building is leaking significantly in the basement. And part of this project that they're undertaking is going to solve that. They're actually starting the work as we speak.
Did I see another hand? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Well, being on the CIP committee, we had a bit of a discussion on this here, as you were aware. And I agree with what, where's Lou hiding? Oh, right there. That we have to look at who's asking for it. And it's a food grant, it's a food bank, and it's a great thing for our city to have that. And, but we realized it was out of our scope to approve it. That's why it came to council. But so anytime somebody else wanted something, there'd be a lot of criteria to follow before we would approve it. But I would have supported it then, and I support it now, that we need to approve this. So thank you.
Well, I guess I'll ask a question of the treasurer. Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Wookie. And
Thanks, Your Worship. I support doing this. I'm always the person who says, let's not do exceptions to the policy, let's change the policy. So I'm okay with looking at that. I wouldn't mind and I'd like to ask the treasurer, the city clerk, can we just strike out under the community improvement program and say we're going to fund it? Like, this is an out and out separate, this is just a discretionary expenditure by council. Like, it's not part of the, so instead of dealing with it through CIP, we just simply say discretionary expenditure, unbudgeted. We do this on a regular basis for various things in the community, unbudgeted expenses for unforeseen things. And this just doesn't really fit into the mold. So one option is just to do it outside completely. But either way, I think with the good work that is being done by this group, that the least we can do is find the money for this. Thank you.
I was going to ask the treasurer if I could, is there $5,000 left in the community grant program? Because I'm seeing kind of that's where a number of people would like it to come out of.
Thank you, through you. Yeah, there would be enough money in community grants to cover this.
All right. And Lou, we're not running short or anything under community CIP funding. So either way would be.
Through your worship, no, we to cover that expense, we'd be fine. The only comment I have is 5,000 is the upper limit under that program.
Right.
I'm not even sure if that's what they would actually need in terms of actual expenditures. It may be less,
Okay.
but I just wanted to
Okay,
make
so
that point.
we've got that as a cap up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So council, we accept the report the way it's written, that it comes from CIP at that amount, or that I see a couple suggesting that it comes out of the community grant program.
I prefer to move a motion to amend it to have it come out of the community improvement up to an upset of 5,000.
Community improvement.
Sorry, out of the community grants.
Okay. Okay, we got community and too many things. Councillor Clark and then Councillor Gibson.
I'll second that amendment.
Okay, Councillor Gibson on that.
I was going to say the same.
Okay, on the motion then, to make 5,000 come out of the community grants. Councillor Herbert.
So I have a question. I wonder if the city manager would comment on this. Are we going in dangerous territory or not?
Sure.
Sure. Through you, worship, to Councillor Herbert and the remainder of council. Both are an amendment outside of the established policies. So it's kind of the same difference. I think originally when they approached the city, they were looking to get approved under the community grant program. Staff felt it was more appropriate under community improvement and that they were looking for building and permit fees, which is a program established under the CIP. So I think both are kind of, you're taking council discretion to authorize an expenditure outside of these established programs. So I don't see there being a concern with that.
Further questions on the motion to, I have a motion on the floor to amend it to the community grant program. No further discussion. So on that, those in favor? Any opposed? One is carried. We'll carry it under the grant program. Moving on to the next.
Your worship, if we could just deal with the main motion. We did have a mover, Peters and Gibson, just to
Okay.
receive the report.
So we'll take it as a moving to receive the original report that we then amended and moved a motion on. All right. So we receive the report. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Next item relates to an application for draft plan of condominium approval for the property at 131 South Edgeware. I have a motion that report PD 3125 relating to a proposed draft plan of condominium for 131 South Edgeware Road be received for information, and further that the application by Real Dent Inc. for approval of a proposed draft plan of condominium file 34 CDM 25501 be received. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gibson?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a few concerns in regards to the accessibility parking. We're looking at a bunch of condominiums, and then we're having a retail where they have guests or customers and clients. I just don't find that 2 would be enough. I would like to see at least 4, maybe 6 if possible. Because if you're having a residence there and your customer clients have already taken the 2 spaces, then you have nothing for the guests who are living in the condominiums if they themselves have a guest that needs that area as well. Thank you.
Lou, I'm going to ask you, I think this is a commercial condominium, not a residential condominium. Am I correct?
Through your worship, yes, yeah, that is a difference. It's a commercial condominium, so that each individual unit has the option of the owner that they can sell them off to one of the proprietors. It isn't a residential condominium, but your comments are valid comments, and we'll certainly pass them on. The applicant is more than encouraged to and they often do if they find that they need to add additional accessible parking spaces. They will do that as the use evolves and the clientele's needs. They become aware of some of the clientele's needs, but generally it was viewed under that lens, and this is what they landed on in terms of the allotment of accessible parking spaces.
Go ahead.
Your Worship, one last question. So if we can make sure that they're all A, not B. A is a van, and most of the that would just give a lot more room even if there's someone that doesn't have a van, they're using it with a car, it gives the person a room to navigate, even a wheelchair to get out of a vehicle as well. Thank you.
Okay. So you'll pass on.
We'll pass that information on, your worship, yeah.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is notice of public meeting from the Committee of Adjustment regarding a meeting to take place on July 10th at 10 a.m. And this is for an application for consent by Walter Ostojic and Sons and Joe Ostojic and Sons to sever lands with an area of 1699 square meters from 61 Harper to be merged with lands at 76 Progress Drive. The retained lands with an area of 1629.9 square meters will be merged with lands at 82 Progress Drive. Your Worship, unless the members have any further items.
Councillor Peters and Councillor Clark.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I have a couple items I'd like to raise that I'll raise them and then just leave them with staff. I'm not really looking for an answer tonight, but more of a report back. The first one, it's come to my attention that we do not have any bylaw in place regarding short-term rentals. And there's a situation in the city of a short-term rental that is causing some challenges for a neighborhood as it's rented out. I think we've all heard horror stories of the famous one in London that they rent out to all the frat houses. But I received an inquiry from a resident. I checked with planning staff, and was informed that we do not have anything. So I was just hoping that staff could maybe take a look at this. We're seeing more and more of short-term rentals, Airbnb, that kind of thing happening. And when a residential area has one of these units in it, now there's nothing that can really be done. So anyway, I'll leave that one with staff to come back with. And the second one, Your Worship, that I'd like to just hear back from staff on is regarding fences. You know, we have clear bylaws in place, you know, heights of fences, what kind of fence you need to have. And most people, when you build a fence, people are neighborly and you would share the cost. I've heard some situations, I'm dealing with one right now where an expensive wooden fence was constructed. The neighbor refused. The neighbor now enjoys a nice new fence and has chosen to hang plants and all kinds of things off of this fence. You know, there used to be a law in the books that was called the Line Fences Act that required if there was a 4-foot chain link fence put up, you were required to pay half of it. In rural areas, it was a page wire fence. We have nothing in our bylaws regarding fences. I checked with staff today. My understanding in London is London used to, whether they still do or not, have a requirement in place that if you were to put up a wooden fence, the neighbor would be obligated to pay half the cost of a 4-foot chain link fence. But from what I understood, we do not have anything in our bylaws, and it's another one I would just appreciate staff taking a look at. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll look for something to come back under old business in the future from the department. Great. I saw Councillor Clark's hand.
Yeah, just going back to the Committee of Adjustment meeting on the Progress and Harper Road properties. I was just wondering what they're currently zoned for.
It's a good question. Does somebody know the answer to that?
Through Your Worship, I'm 90% positive it's their employment land zones. So they're just doing a lot of adjustments there just to accommodate some future needs of one or two of the property owners there. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else under this committee's business? Seeing none?
We'll now move into community engagement and services. First item relates to a request for temporary parking space closure for Destination Church car trunk sale. I have a motion that report ES 2425 relating to the Destination Church car trunk sale request for temporary parking space closure be received for information, and further the council approve the temporary closure of 2 rows of parking in the Moore Street parking lot behind Destination Church for the Destination Church trunk sale between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. on June 21st, 2025. Moved by Councillor Herbert, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to a request for animal control bylaw exemption by Railway City Music and Arts Festival. I have a motion that report ES 2225 relating to the Railway City Music and Arts Festival request for animal control bylaw exemption be received for information, and further that a temporary exemption from section 6.1 of Animal Control Bylaw 71-2011 be granted to the Railway City Music and Arts Festival organizers to permit pony rides as part of the Railway City Music and Arts Festival from August 14th to 17th, 2025 in Pinafore Park. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, on the pony rides, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to Health Recruitment Partnership for Shelby Etier. I have a motion that report CMO 2925 relating to the Health Recruitment Partnership with Shelby Etier, nurse practitioner, be received for information, and further council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a health recruitment partnership agreement with nurse practitioner Shelby Etier for the provision of $5,000 in health recruitment incentive funding. Moved by Counselor Baldwin Sands, second by Counselor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to Health Recruitment Partnership Agreement with Dr. Alana. I have a motion that reports CMO 3025 relating to Health Recruitment Partnership with Dr. Chris Alana be received for information. And further, council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a Health Recruitment Partnership Agreement with Dr. Chris Alana for the provision of $33,000 in health recruitment incentive funding. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item again with their Health Recruitment Partnership for an agreement with Dr. Michael Pellizzari. I have a motion that report CMO 3125 relating to Health Recruitment Partnership with Dr. Michael Pellizzari be received for information. And further, the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a Health Recruitment Partnership Agreement with Dr. Michael Pellizzari for the provision of $33,000 in health recruitment incentive funding. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members for this committee, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. If I could please, I noticed today on our social media platform that we have pollinator pathways, that this is Pollinator Pathway Week within the community. So I was hoping we could get an update from the manager and talk about how this program is actually growing in our community.
Great to have you here with us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Baldwin Sands. This is Pollinator Week, so throughout the city of St. Thomas, throughout our Parks Department, we have been celebrating pollinators by encouraging the planting of native plants on public property as well as private property. And so we practice what we preach, and that means with all our trail installations, we're planting pollinator and native plants along those trails. So far, we've reached about 13 kilometers of native plants and pollinating plants along our trails. This year, our focus for trails is more along the accessibility needs of our residents. So we won't be planting along trails for that program, but we have identified an area in Waterworks Park that's about 2.5 acres. So we will be planting that as well as restoring some of our other areas that we planted before. So that will be done. Next year, we're starting to think about our trails already. So that will include a possible extension in Shaw Valley Park, which should then as well put some more native plants along those trails as well. So our goal is for 2 to 3 acres a year, and then continue to maintain what we plant. One of the key methods to our planting is to do it in the fall. We want to make sure that there isn't, that space can be used by the public for as long as possible until we get the seeds in, but it's also good for cold stratification of the seeds. So we make sure we plant in the fall, and that gives time through the winter season for the seeds to get what they needed to come up in the spring. And the public really needs to remember that it's pretty ugly for the first couple of years, but once the seeds take hold and take off, it can be quite beautiful. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Clark?
Just while we're talking about plantings, there's some chatter on social media about the city not doing enough in terms of trees in the downtown core, and I was just wondering if someone could comment on. I know, just driving up here, I noticed the number of, as we've redone sections of Talbot Street, we've planted new trees.
Right.
Same thing all along Center Street as we continue that work. So I'm just wondering if we could just enlighten the viewers a little bit about our plans as we redo areas in terms of tree plantings.
Who wants it? I think it's Kevin. All right. Mr. Dilivic?
Thank you. Through council to Councillor Clark. complete street methodology or approach always includes the provision of street trees whenever we can. We try to minimize the amount of trees that we do need to remove for infrastructure renewal purposes, but we always make sure we at least plant what we've taken away, if not more. Street trees provide great canopy, cools the pavement, provides traffic calming, believe it or not, when you have large trees over top. So we definitely are in support of as many street trees as we can.
Great. And we're a tree city. That's not three, that's tree. Next topic.
Thank you. Moving into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to the secondary system water main shutdown. I have a motion that report ID 1525 relating to the secondary system water main shutdown be received for information. Moved by Councillor Wilkie, seconded by Councillor Peters.
Questions or comments on the secondary water system shutdown? Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Worship. I saw the communication plan that was in there, but it's, a lot of people do not subscribe to newspapers. They're not on social media. Have we given any thought in discussion with Southwold of actually going and putting a door-to-door notice? I know when I've had work done in my neighborhood, whether it was for emergency purposes or part of construction, there was a little door knocker hanger thing on my door telling me it was going to be out. And I just would like to make sure that everyone is aware of this happening.
Mr. Lawrence?
Thanks. I appreciate the idea and agree with you on delivery whenever possible. In this case, there's huge zones. So it's generally like all of Southold, like every house in Southold. So it'll be it would be difficult, but we're open to other ideas about getting the message out. I know that Lisa's helped us to communicate to Southold and then, you know, echo that message on and through to them and stuff. So we're open to ideas. We're trying to hit as many possible advertisements as possible.
Mr. Lawrence, this isn't a shutdown. It's water will be slowly or less pressure?
That's correct. It's a low pressure, like quite low pressure. Starts on a Friday night and goes till a Saturday night. So we picked it for the, in theory, the lowest possible use, least impactful time.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. My question follows Your Worship's Mayor. If normal pressure is 100%, where is low pressure on a scale? Is it just going to trickle out or flow out? Because I think, and I read further in the report, I mean, it got to have a big effect for the fire department if they had to use a fire hydrant or something. So I'm just curious, what percent would low pressure be?
Mr. Lawrence?
The pressure varies, of course, you know, depending on the elevation of where the house is in Southold or in St. Thomas for that matter. But we're talking about dropping from, say, an average is 50 in Southold to 25 or something. So it's a significant drop. We're taking out the main feeder that supplies water that way. So it's a big issue, and that's why we're making such a process of it. And to note, there's two shutdowns as well that'll happen. So there's one in July and then one a bit later. So it's a significant issue, and that's why we will of course notify the fire department so they're aware of it.
Further questions on the water shutdown? Councillor Wilkie?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just down the road as we grow into the municipality, not that I'm asking for a report back from staff, but just saying that, you know, robocalls, like, and the capacity to do robocalls to targeted groups, and do we even have phone numbers, and do we have phone numbers of tenants rather than owners and all that kind of stuff? Just so down the road, as we grow, and it'd be neat if we had internal capacity to do that and didn't have to hire out an outside group. But that's a whole other bridge to cross. But I just think that is a very effective way. But I don't even know whether we have, you know, what our database is in terms of phone numbers of actual tenants as opposed to owners or whatever. So just, you know, I'd be interested in finding out what other municipalities do. Like, I can't imagine that this is a revelation about robocalls. You'd think that would be something that would be able to reach people with. If you can do it in an election, I think we could do it for something, not like this perhaps, but like something like it. But anyway, that's just the thought crossed my mind. Thanks.
Mr. Lawrence, I'll add a little from the political side. It used to be quite a bit easier when everybody had a landline. And there was a neat book that they put out called the phone book that had all those numbers in it. As it stands now, as people have converted to just carrying a cell phone, it's not a collectible entity unless you have a way to collect it from each person. So I guess we could collect it from our tax base, but you're right. Some of it is property ownership, some of it is property tenants. But it is another way of maybe us getting some more of the word out. Mr. Lawrence, did you have a better answer than I did?
That's great. No, it's hard to top that. There was something that we developed with the fire department about an emergency broadcast system. I'm not sure if this would qualify or not, but in theory, if all the water turned off in the city, I think we can do that.
Yeah, I think if we were really into a broken water main where people weren't getting any water at all, it'd be an emergency. Lowering the pressure by half may make the shower last a little longer, I suppose, but you're right. There is an emergency system for complete water outages or complete power outages. Councillor Gibson?
Yes, my husband and I, when we were traveling and going up north, we would go the back roads in the Listowel area when they were doing theirs. They would actually have the signage, electronic signage to let people know that there was a drop. So maybe that's something we can look at, is having electronic signage in certain areas of Southwold Township.
Not a bad thought. Yeah. They've got a bunch now about the construction on Fingal Line. Maybe we can, have them flash both messages. Sorry, Grant. No. Any other questions on the water outage? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to the Dalewood Water Reclamation Facility commercial update. A motion that report ID 1625 relating to the Dalewood Water Reclamation Facility commercial update be received for information. And further, the council award a change order to JLR Consulting to an upset limit of $375,000 excluding HST. Moved by Councillor Wookie, second by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Thank you. As they're laying out this, the renderings here, I'm just wondering whether or not we have talked with them at any stage about creating energy from waste, and whether or not, if now's not the time, whether or not the system that we're building will allow us to convert that in the future to capture and create a resource for us.
Mr. Lawrence?
Thanks. It's a great question. Absolutely, we should be trying to do whatever we can do to make it net zero in theory. There's two opportunities. One is solar, big area that we can, we can develop, and it's really a return on investment choice for council to make. Do you want to invest a certain amount to get a payback in electricity? The second option is the heat. And so there are some technologies where you can take energy out of the heat and reuse it to heat buildings and things. It's only heat to heat at this point, not heat to electricity, which is really what the ultimate goal would be. So what we can do is we can save some space in the layout. So there's room for a future building that could draw the heat out. There's some companies that have that technology, but maybe it just needs to advance a bit further. But leaving space is a great idea for that.
Further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to the Burwell Road Force Main Construction Tender Award. I have a motion that report ID 1725 relating to the Burwell Road Force Main Construction Tender Award be received for information. And further, the council award the Burwell Road Force Main Construction Project to Burnham Excavating Limited in the amount of $1,917,755.34, excluding HST. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Peters, then Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Worship. It's funny. I remember when the Burwell pumping station went in because Dick Greenway, Don West Construction was going north up towards Ron McNeil, and he believed he was doing, and the city forced him to pay 100% of the costs, and then he recovered it. But Dick at the time believed that this was an investment for his grandchildren, and now it's all filled in. But Justin, with the previous report and the work that's being done, and this, I'm assuming your staff is putting what I would call the sewer pipe jigsaw puzzle together to figure out ultimately where things are, what is going to go to the new plant, what will continue to go to the old plant. So is that all part of all these little components? Is this all part of the long-term process of making sure we know what poop goes where?
Mr. Lawrence?
Absolutely.
And how much of your spare time do you spend thinking about?
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. We have a process with the environmental services that we've been, piecing this puzzle together for years. So the Class EA that we completed did a lot of that. It separated which areas will go to the new plant, which will be switched over. So generally the split is on the expressway through the city. So everything north of the expressway will go into the new plant. And that clears up a bit of capacity at the south plant. So that's generally the split, how it is. But yeah, in the future, you can always shift areas out of one into the other. So you can shift some from the south plant to the north plant or the reverse if the city wanted to sometime.
I'm sorry, I had another question. Was yours, Councillor Clark?
It's been answered. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. What would be the time frame on this? Is it something that's going to start this year, or is it a next year project, or just curious?
Sure. Yeah, this is a this year project starting in probably 2 weeks from now. There's no question there's some social impact in this part of the city, so there's a few other projects on the go in this area, but we're trying to coordinate them as best possible. But it'll be likely be about, I'll say 3 months, this project.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried.
Next item relates to request for proposal award for design consultant for the Fire Station 2 and 3. I have motion that report PRF 2725 relating to the design consultant for Fire Station 2 and Fire Station 3 tender award be received for information, and further the council approve the award of request for proposal number 2025-025 to DPA 1 Architecture Incorporated in the amount of $255,000 excluding HST. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Councillor Clark?
Thank you. Question regards Station 3. I know we had the report done back in 20 or 21, and that's why we build it that way. But I thought since then there'd been some chatter about whether or not we needed to update the fire plan with the amount of growth in the city, and whether or not that was the way to go, whether or not we really needed to do something else with Station 1. And I just want to make sure that we're not investing 90,000 and then redoing things. So we haven't talked about this for quite a while. So I'm assuming by spending the 90,000, we're going to move through and outfit the building and make use of it in the future. And I'm just wondering whether or not we've talked about timelines in terms of when we would man Station 3, if that's somebody's plan.
Mr. Bray, great to have you here. I know you don't have many times left visiting us here.
Thank you, Mayor Preston. Don't make me cry in front of the public.
Okay.
I will, in terms of manning the station, I will defer to Chief Gregory. I see he's online. In a perfect world, we would, the design work would be done in the new year, and we try to tender as tight as possible to that time frame so that we can get good construction pricing. But Chief Gregory could comment on your request as to when the station would actually be manned.
Okay. Chief, are you able to link in and share your wisdom?
Thanks, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Clark, if you can hear me.
Yes.
So Councillor Clark, in regards to your questions, we have no mandate or move forward on staffing Queen Street. So Queen Street will do the outfitting and kind of get ahead of the game now cost-wise. But for staffing, we're kind of looking at where we go with growth. I know we talked about the central station, what that looks like, being an aging building. I know we're doing the expansion on Redmond to help with some industrial growth there. So as far as Queen Street goes, we have nothing set in stone or really talked about for staffing of it, but we'll be prepared to move that way as growth for that area up Ford Line and that area, if that seems to grow as we think it may.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the report? Any opposed? Councillor, okay, that's carried.
Next item relates to Miller's Pond subdivision traffic calming petition. I have a motion that report ES 2325 relating to the Miller's Pond subdivision traffic calming petition be received for information. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless the members have any further questions or comments or items under this committee, we'll now move into corporate governance and administration. First item relates to childcare funding clerk position. I have a motion that report SESS 1425 relating to the creation and recruitment of a childcare funding clerk position be received for information, and further the council approve the creation and recruitment of one childcare funding clerk position. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to the 2025 final property tax rates. I have a motion that report TR 1325 relating to the 2025 final property tax rates be received for information, and further the council authorize preparation of bylaws to establish the 2025 property tax ratios and the 2025 property tax rates. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to updated strategic asset management policy. I have a motion that report ES 2125 relating to the updated strategic asset management policy be received for information, and further the council approve the updated strategic asset management policy as attached to report ES 2125. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Your Worship, and to staff, thanks very much for the report. And I particularly appreciate the strategic alignment in this. And I'm hoping that this will solve the issue that I've had, that Kevin knows I'm about to speak to for a long time, and that is the moving dates of when we're going to do a project. You know, it's driven me batty over the years that 5 years ago, I would say to somebody, your street is going to get repaired in 2025. And then that date moves out and then it moves out. And so to Kevin or to Daniel, is this a component of helping to say, look, I understand emergencies, et cetera, but that we find a way to get rid of these moving target dates so that someone knows that their street is going to get reconstructed in 10 years' time or 15 years' time. But again, thanks very much for the report.
Mr. Dillerick?
Through
It
the
is
mayor.
a question we all get, so thank you for helping.
And somehow I knew that was going to be a question this evening. So Councillor Peters, I can understand that frustration when, you know, we say this is the date and then that gets moved. I think this process is going to help us delineate the difference between what the projects we should be doing if we were funding everything at a sustainable level. We know that that's not possible. No municipality can reach that. So there's always going to be delays. And so the art is which projects then? And so I think that comes into the capital forecast. And that's the one where we really want to pin down and say, okay, especially in the near term, within the next 3 to 5 years, we should have a really good idea of what's happening. After that, things can come up, right? So it might be in year 7, that might get pushed to year 10 because this came forward. So this policy sets the framework for the application we want to use to define our capital need overall. And then it will inform the capital planning process to help refine that battiness that you were referring to earlier.
Is that a technical engineering term that I?
Sometimes it is, yeah.
Counselor Wookie and I have to learn some of those terms. Thank you. Did I see a hand? Counselor Baldwin Sands?
Thank you. I also appreciate this report. My appreciation stems from being a former business owner. So I certainly agree with the disciplined and professional report, and going back to the adage of what gets written down is what gets done. So I thank you again for this report.
Thank you. Counselor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Worship. When I was down at St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital, they tend to put up their guiding principles throughout the hospital. And the 5 guiding values that we have here for a brighter future, do we do that here at City Hall or even at some of our other community locations like the library, the Joe Thornton Center, areas like that? Because these are probably took a lot of thought to put these guiding values together, and they mean a lot. If a person just understood what the city is trying to do for trust and accountability, for example, inclusivity and respect, collaboration and teamwork, learning and innovation, safety and well-being. Just a question, just a suggestion. If we don't do it, could we do it?
City Manager?
Great. Thank you, Councillor Taylor, and through your worship to the councillor. Yes, each staff member has been provided with a postcard of the guiding values, the mission, the vision, and the strategic plan. We are procuring those large posters so that in every community space they can see a snapshot of the strategic plan. So yes, those are in the works, but thank you.
Great. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Your worship, that concludes the items on the agenda for this committee, unless there are any further items from the members. Council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council in committee of the whole as recorded in the minutes of this date be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next, we move into reports of committees. First one relates to, the only one for this evening relates to Lives Lost Monument at 230 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report STPAC 0325 relating to the Lives Lost Monument located at 230 Talbot Street be received for information. And further, the council approve the acquisition and installation of the Lives Lost Monument as set out in report STPAC 0325. And further, that the Lives Lost Monument be included as part of the city's public art inventory. Moved by Councillor Wookie, second by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookie first, and then I'll go to Kohler and Peters.
Thanks, Your Worship. As the member of the Public Art Committee, we reviewed this, and I know that the drawing that's included is just a rough sketch. But the committee looked at the other work this artist has done and can vouch that this person does really good work. And so just in general, like it's in terms of size, content, and location, the committee was in favor of this. And if any of my colleagues have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Peters, and then Councillor Kohler.
Thanks, Your Worship. To Councillor Wookie, the monument itself, it's not going to have names on it. It's not going to be like a war memorial or something like that, that we're going to be constantly adding names.
Thank you. Yes, it will not have that on it. It's a really wonderful idea. And if Ms. Sheridan wants to talk about the idea behind it, that would be great. But it's no names, but it's there's going to be a spot in it that you can like leave a message for a lost one. It's like You know, so it's a really, in my mind, a really touching a way to pay tribute to people who have died too young. Thank you.
Councillor Kohler?
Thanks, Your Worship. I know it refers to the previous report, and I know in that report, there was no identified financial commitment for the city at that time. This report talks about some of the maintenance that might be required at that time, but there's still no, how is this being funded? Like, do we know that yet, or is?
Well, I think we're about to. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Ms. Sheridan, great to have you here.
Nice to be here. Thank you. Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Kohler. It is going to be funded. We have some churches in the community that are interested in funding it. It's approximately $10,000, I think, is the total. But yeah, it will be a faith community that helps.
Great, thank you. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. What I'm looking at is fine. Is there a plan to put some park benches around it so people can sit, or is that in the future?
Again, incoming answer. Ms. Sheridan?
I like the way you think, but that hasn't actually, we haven't talked about that to date. We're just talking about the monument at this point, but it would be lovely to have a space for sure.
Nice little dedicated area. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions and comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next, we move into petitions and communications. First item relates to a request for proclamation, flag raising, and jumbo lighting request for September 30th. Just for the members' information, the organizing group has also made an application to the Special Events Committee for the road closure. I have motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas proclaims September 30th, 2025 as Orange Shirt Day in the City of St. Thomas, and further that the Orange Shirt Day flag be flown at City Hall on September 30th, 2025, and further that the Jumbo Monument be lit in orange on September 30th, 2025 in recognition of Orange Shirt Day. Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Baldwin-Sand.
Questions or comments? Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there a time frame where Talbot Street will be closed down, and make sure we notify our downtown merchants and property owners?
I'll ask Councillor Clark, has this come to special events yet with a timing?
I don't believe so, but it's usually for a couple hours, and the businesses are notified.
But so once it gets to special events and gets approved there, the time would be made public to the DDB?
Right, and it's just the block, and it's just in front of City Hall.
Okay. All right. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a letter received from the Honorable Vic Fideli, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, regarding a recent mission to Germany and the Power Code development in St. Thomas. Your Worship, that concludes the items under petitions.
I have Councillor Peters. Wait for new business, okay.
Unless there are any further items from the members under petitions, we'll now move into unfinished business. Seeing no items under unfinished business, we'll now move into new business of council.
And I see Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Worship. I know Jerry Holden made a deputation to council last week, but just to remind everybody about the Summerfest event taking place at the Columbus Club, formerly the Knights of Columbus on Wellington Street, on Friday, June 20th and Saturday, June 21st. And they've got a fish fry and a lot of events planned, and all proceeds are supporting the St. Thomas Elgin Food Bank. So if you can attend, please do.
Great. Any other? Thank you, Councillor Wookie.
Thanks, Your Worship. This goes out to, I guess, Jeff and Adrian as a comment more than a question. I had somebody contact me, and they said they go jogging really early in the morning a lot of days, and behind Memorial Arena, Oftentimes in the morning, at 6 a.m., there's a transport truck running for Tim Hortons that's running, sitting there for a while. And this person is saying, well, it's sitting on our property, it's 6 a.m. It's not interfering with anything. It's behind Memorial Arena. It's all that kind of stuff. But their point was, do we have anything about people on city property idling vehicles? Is that, and so I just brought that up because they asked me to bring it up, and whether we have anything about people using our property basically as a parking spot, and then idling their vehicle. And obviously, if you have a transport truck, it's not like you can just pull over the side of the road. So I'll follow up with Jeff and Adrian about this, about what we have in terms of policies on our property. But just, I told the person I'd bring it up, and so I wanted to do that. It's one of those ones that you just wouldn't think of, but there's obviously a level of acceptability and not acceptability there. So I'll follow that up with the Parks and Property folks. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else under new business? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. I'm sure you were going to mention this, but I think this is Jeff Bray's last official council meeting. I think he's retiring in a couple of weeks, so just wanted to thank him. He was always great to work with our baseball and stuff. So open door policy always found, so just wanted to thank him on that.
Sure. Steal my thunder. It's
And noted for Dan Sheridan too. Is he another one out the end of the month?
Yeah, well, pretty
So
soon.
thank Dan, too. Two of them out the door. No, great job, guys. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Councillor Herbert, for saying so. And I kind of pointed out when Mr. Bray got to the microphone today, but you know what? We love the work that you've done for our community, and we're thankful to have had you here. And Mr. Treasurer, when your time comes, exactly the same thing. It's been a lot of fun watching this team work as well as it has, and you both individually. And thank you so much for what you've done for our community. I have a couple of other new businesses. One was a past one, and last Friday night, a great event from the YMCA run the runway for Jordan. There's a young lad that has passed away, but it's a fundraiser to send kids to camp for the YMCA camps, and it was our first event of it. So spending some time out at the airport, I wanted to commend Dale and his team at the airport for how great the airport looked, and also how smooth the event went. There was a 5K run and a kiddie run and of course the kids loved running out onto the airport runway. As a first event, they hold the Run the Runway for Jordan event in Chatham, Sarnia, London, and now St. Thomas has held its first, and we think of an annual event. And over $18,000 was raised in that first event on our airport. So, and everybody said what a great facility it was, and asked lots of questions about our airport, because nobody spends a great deal of time out at our airport. So thank you for the team for that. And coming up on this Friday is also St. Thomas has entered into Participaction. For all of you that are into fitness and running and everything, that's fantastic. But our city has asked all of the members of the city of St. Thomas to join us in sharing what you've done, so that we can come in as one of the most active communities. And so you've had all month to submit in your activities. And if you haven't done it yet, you still have time to do it. There's a barcode on our website. But this Friday, June 21st, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at beautiful Pinafore Park is our Participaction Day there. And so please, if you could join us and be out there on Friday between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I understand we're going to, help teach people pickleball and a bunch of other physical activities. So please come out if you can. And we thank you for being there in the most beautiful park in Southern Ontario. And that's all I have.
Seeing no further items, Your Worship, we'll now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws, moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Counselor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Counselor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Counselor Wookie, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 16th day of June, 2025.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Second bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 79-2023, being a bylaw to delegate council's powers to grant permits for alteration permits in a heritage conservation district.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Third bylaw, please.
Third bylaw is a bylaw to temporarily remove certain lands from part lot control. This relates to lots 7 to 9, 14 to 15, 24 to 25, 28 to 30, and 39 to 40 on Plan 11M271 in the Harvest Run Phase 3, Stage 3.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Fourth bylaw, please.
Fourth bylaw is a bylaw to establish tax ratios for the year 2025.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Fifth bylaw, please.
Fifth bylaw is a bylaw to provide for the adoption of the estimates for municipal purposes for 2025, the adoption of tax rates for municipal business improvement area and education purposes for 2025, and further to provide for penalty and interest on payments of taxes in default.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Sixth and final bylaw, please.
Sixth bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the City of St. Thomas and Shelby Etier, nurse practitioner. This relates to health recruitment partnership incentive funding.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Your worship, I rise to report successful passing of six bylaws.
Great.
I have a motion by Counselor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Counselor Wookie, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the six bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No public notice or notices of motion this evening. There is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality by the province of Ontario, two matters of a proposed or pending disposition of land, a labor relations matter, and two personal matters about identifiable individuals. Just need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Counselor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Counselor Herbert.
Great. Before I call for the vote, I will remind all those watching at home that we're about to move into closed session. We're about to vote to move into closed session, and we will not be coming back to open session except to adjourn or cover anything that happened during closed session. So we thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you in the middle of July is our next council meeting. So please, please join us then. So on moving to closed session, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
At this time, I have a motion that council rise from closed session. Moved by Counselor Herbert, seconded by Counselor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carried.
Now in open session, we move to bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in one bylaw.
Questions?
Moved by Counselor Wookie, seconded by Counselor Taylor.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carried.
I have a motion by Counselor Wookie, seconded by Counselor Taylor, that the bylaw be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carried.
First bylaw, please.
The first bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. This relates to Ontario Transfer Payment Amending Agreement.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Your worship, I rise and report the successful passing of the one bylaw.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Counselor Wookie, seconded by Counselor Taylor, that the report of council in committee of the whole on the one bylaw be received and adopted, the same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carried.
Seeing no further items on the agenda, I now have a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, opposed, carried. The meeting stands adjourned.